Basically, you're looking at a $400,000 increase, okay? $350,000 increase. $350,000 increase. Okay, and we're speaking to the amendment only. And are you speaking to the amendment?
No, I'm still waiting.
Dr. Cascadden?
Dean Cascadden from Bristol. I think I'm in favor of this amendment. I'm not absolutely sure I understand, because you seem to say add money to the budget and then railed against the health insurance plan. When we look at health insurance, there are two things you have to look at: cost containment and cost shifting. When you make changes, like you increase office visit copays and you increase deductibles and so forth, you change people's behavior. And the way to get health insurance under control is to look at those sort of things and try to change the structure of plans so that people are better consumers of health care. And I think Dan's done a great job of looking at those plans, and I'm sure if we gave him $350,000, he would continue to look at those plans and come up with a great plan. My concern is the $700,000 is too much too quickly, and it's going to affect quality. I work in the Bose School District. In 1996, we did, or I wasn't there, but they did a thing where the AIDS insurance was cut, and it was a grandfather situation. So I have two different tiers of people who work in my support staff: those who get great benefits and those who get absolutely terrible benefits. And the people who have great benefits have held on to their jobs, they haven't retired, and we're doing okay. I can't hire good people in at the level of benefits that I'm offering. And my concern is if we cut it $700,000, we're going to lose our school secretaries, we're going to lose some of our educational aides who have been there 15, 20 years. We're going to get an incredible talent and brain drain. They're going to go find other places to work.
Hold on, let him speak. Okay.
My experience in Bo has been the following: the type of employee that I am able to hire in with the lower benefits that I'm offering is the younger employee, because of the change in healthcare, that is still on their parents' insurance. I get the 25, 26, 27-year-old, and in this present climate, because they can't get teaching jobs, I get teachers who don't have teaching jobs, and that's okay, we're holding on. Other employees that I get are people that we've had struggled keeping those employees in the jobs because they're not the quality employee because of the compensation. So I'm not going to make the fairness argument. That's been made here. I'm making the quality argument. Health insurance is part of total compensation. And if you get up here and talk about what your health insurance is, please tell me what your salary is so I can compare what your total compensation is.
Thank you. Are you speaking to the amendment?
Yes, I am, but the gentleman was before me.
Okay, Mr. Hill.
David Hill, Bristol. Both of these amendments have changed the budget amount, but they haven't changed the default amount. So I think you should give some consideration either to put in a further amendment. If you want to raise the budget amount, then you ought to raise the default amount by the same figure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, I don't think we're able to amend the default amount, so. Yes, sir.
William Corbell, again, Alexandria.
And you're speaking to the amendment?
Yes, the money that is being added in, is that to provide the health insurance that is currently in place now for the support staff if we vote on it?
My understanding is that you'll increase the budget by that amount. There certainly was an expression of intent here today, but I don't believe that the school board would be obligated to spend it in that manner.
So they could spend it other ways if they chose to.
If they chose to. But they certainly understand, I think, the intent behind the amendment. Okay.
Thank you.
You ready to vote on that? Yes. Okay. This is an amendment. This is for Article 7. The current article reads that you would appropriate for the school budget $21,597,525. This amendment would increase that amount to $21,947,525, basically an increase of $350,000. If you vote yay, you'll be voting to change that article and make that the new appropriated amount, an increase of $350,000. If you vote nay, you would be voting in opposition to that, and we'd go back to the original article amount. Everybody understand that? Okay, all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. Woo. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a show of hands, and lots of times you just can't tell by the volume what the result is. So I just a show of hands. You just show me the raise your hand if you are voting aye or in favor of this. Okay, and raise your hand if you're voting nay or opposed to it. Yeah, it's pretty close. So hold on. Oh, hold on. And in the other room, those in favor, raise your hand. And those opposed, raise your hand. Yeah. You're nice people. I'm not sure you're a big help, but. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some supervisors down here to count hands, okay?
I'd like to move for a ballot vote now.
Okay. Well, if enough people want a ballot vote, then we could have a ballot vote, but I think I need to have 7 people stand up if they want to have a ballot vote. 5, 6, is there anybody else? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8. And I think there's one up back as well. So we're going to we'll have a ballot vote on it. This is the deal. Just if you could just remain calm for a minute, okay? What's going to happen is the supervisors are set up where they usually set up for the meeting. For those who've been in the past, they'll be over here. But we want everybody, we're going to be exiting out this door to go so we can have a flow of traffic and not everybody gets stuck going 2 different directions today, okay? The ballot, if you hold on just for a second, I'll get a copy of one. We're going to use daffodil yellow ballots today. And you're going to see that on the ballots, there's a yes or a no, okay? Pretty simple. Yes or no, but the one thing that's important, in other school district meetings, they used to just rip them apart and then you just put half the ballot in. And there was one particular school district that did that. They had a close vote, and as a result of doing that, they found out they had more ballots than they did voters. And as a result, their election was it was overturned, and they had to go back and do another school meeting. So what we've always done here is require you to circle the yes or no, and there'll be pencils out there, okay? So circle the yes or the no. You don't have to use our pencils. You can use your own or your own pen if you want. But just make sure that you circle yes or no and put the whole ballot in the box so that we can count it, and then we know for sure what your intent is, and we're not going to end up with a problem where we have more votes than we do voters, okay? We're going to go through the checklist. There was an issue raised this year about how long we're keeping the checklist. We need to comply with law to do that. I know there was an issue raised as to whether or not they need to be kept available for a particular period of time. The checklist will be kept available, and I'm sure since it's been brought to the district's attention, they'll be kept for whatever period of time is required by law. So what's going to happen is I'm going to take these out, give them the supervisors. You ought to get out at your desks, and you go to your supervisors. Again, the only people that can vote are registered voters. Again, this is what the issue is, and I just want to go over it one more time so you know what you're voting on. Is it a point of order? Yep. What is that? Yep. It's a statutory provision. So that's not something that I control. That's something that the legislature's decided. And that's so that the majority can't dispossess the minority of their opportunity to have a secret ballot. Yes? It has, no, the written request, anybody can make a written request before we hear the article or before we take the vote. But after we take the vote, there just needs to be that request made by the voters at the time. Okay? Yeah. You're right. Well, this is the deal. What's going to happen is we're going to give everybody an opportunity to go through. I'll come back in here and I'll close the vote once I think everybody's had an opportunity to do that. So you can go, you can get your lunch, do whatever you want to do, get and eat. Generally, the ballot vote takes about an hour to go through all the people that we have here. So during that period of time, take advantage of it. Get to know your friends again. Yep.
In the event that this passes or fails, will you then accept a motion to vote on the main article at that time?
Well, I will accept a motion. I think at least one person's been waiting to discuss, talk on the main motion. I think he should probably be given an opportunity, but other people should be given an opportunity. I think people can assess whether or not, at this point in time, they, based upon the vote that we have already had and this vote, probably people will get a pretty good sense as a result of how people vote on this, what their willingness is to consider further amendments.
So people should not leave after this ballot because it could be subject to further amendment.
Absolutely. It will be subject to, people should understand that it will be subject to further amendment. I know Mr. McKinney had an amendment to raise it some more. It's possible that that amendment could come back. So it's not over with regard to the article when you vote on the amendment. Yes. Stand up.
William Colbert, can we continue on with the meetings like Article 1 and 2 while the ballots are being counted, or do we have to stop for the whole hour?
No, well, while the ballots are being counted, yes, we will.
Okay.
But we can't go on while people are voting.
Right, voting, but once all the
Yes.
ballots are cast.
Once the
we can
ballots are
continue
counted,
the meeting.
once I've closed the polls, I'll authorize the supervisors to count the votes, and we'll continue on with the other, we'll go back to, actually, we can't go back to the article. The answer is no, we won't continue. I guess we probably can.
Yeah.
Okay. The supervisors are counting the ballots right now. I know that there was some confusion with regard to the tables. If we do find ourselves voting again, we're going to rearrange the tables to make it easier and to have less confusion. On one side of it is that there was a lot of confusion. The other side of it, the good side is that there's a lot of people here today, and that's a good thing, too. What we'll do while they're counting those, I don't know if you'd like to move on, and we'll just discuss Article 2 and start to address Article 2. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to recess at this point in time with regard to that last article, Article 7. We'll discuss Article 2, and when I get the results of the vote, I'll let you know, and when we finish Article 2, we'll go back to Article 7 again, okay? Okay, Article 2 is the expendable trust fund building maintenance to see if the Newfound Area School District will vote to raise and appropriate up to the sum of $60,000 to be added to the expendable trust fund building maintenance and to authorize the use transfer in that amount from the undesignated fund balance available July 1st, 2012 for this purpose. The school board and the budget committee recommend this article. Is there somebody who would like to address that? Yes, come on up.
Thank you. This is a recurring article. The Maintenance Trust Fund was established in the 90s. It's to be used for unexpected elements that occur in the operation of the physical plant of the school district. We've used it in the recent past to repair the gymnasium floor in the middle school, and most recently to execute against some of the life safety problems that we've had at Bristol Elementary School. The amount to be raised is a maximum of $60,000. It will come from any unexpended fund balance. If there is no unexpended fund balance, there will be no money put into the fund. Other than that, the school board and the budget committee think this is a good way of accumulating some capital in the event of an unforeseen problem. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? You just want to close debate on that? Okay. All those... Excuse me? Oh, okay. Ms. Huber. Could I just ask somebody over there, I know there were people in that lobby and people in that lobby, could you just let them know that we've reconvened the meeting in case they don't know? If somebody would just go out there. Thank you, Ms. Huber.
Carol Huber from Bristol. I just have a question of this unexpended fund budget. Do we have any money currently in that budget that we haven't spent?
No, the fund balance is zero. It has been for the last 2 years. We've consumed it with the life safety expenditures that I made.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I don't know if everybody heard that. The answer is no, there's no money in the fund right now. It's been expended. And the answer was that during the last year, they used it for life safety expenditures. Okay, what we'll do is I'm just going to ask you to vote on closing the debate, okay? And if you say yes, we'll close the debate, move on to the next article, and hopefully won't come back to this one again. And if you vote no, I guess we continue the debate. But the bottom line is if you vote yes, which I presume you will, this article will appear on the ballot just as it's written here in your warrant here today. All those in favor of closing debate signify by saying aye. Aye. All those nay. Then Article 2 will appear on your ballot just as it appears here today in your warrant. The Article 3 may take more discussion. Article 3 proposes a tax cap. Shall we adopt the provisions of RSA 32.5b and implement a tax cap whereby the governing body or budget committee shall not submit a recommended budget that increases the amount to be raised by local taxes based on the prior fiscal year's actual amount of local taxes raised by more than 2%. This was an article submitted by petition. And is there somebody who would like to address that article today? Yep,
Barbara
Ms. Greenwood.
Greenwood, School Street, Bristol.
Yep.
Yes, I had this put in mainly because the Budget Committee has worked very hard. I thought it was a good starting point. We need to achieve some kind of balance. I sit on the Bristol Town Budget Committee, and I've learned a great deal in the 3 years that I have been there. And I see how hard we work, and I'm sure that the School Budget Committee works equally as hard. There are expenses. We have an obligation and a responsibility to fund our school for the education of our young people. But the towns also, and I'm sure I can speak for the other towns in the district, we also have responsibilities and obligations to our town people. We have a fire department, police department, highway department, all the other things that are part of the town that have an impact on the tax dollar. I would like to achieve some kind of balance here so that the school and the towns can work together to be successful and have our kids leave here with a good education behind them, and also to be able to support our town people who work, and they work very hard, and for the people who maintain our safety net. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion? Mr. Ozier?
Archie Ozier, Bristol. A technical question, Mr. Moderator. Is this article open to amendment? Specifically with respect to the percentage of increase?
Yeah, I believe that the language has to remain the same, but the percentage could be amended.
Thank you.
Mr. Cascadden?
I'd like to speak to this. Tax caps were originally put in for cities because the people don't have a direct say on how the budget is developed. And so this was a mechanism put in so the people would have a direct say on how their budget was increased. In principle, I'm against a tax cap for a place like this because we have the voice of the people. We have a meeting like this with a bunch of people who turn out and have a chance every year to set exactly what we're going to vote on. So I think in principle, this disenfranchises voters. We're saying at one time, we're going to set a limit, and we're telling future voters how they can or cannot. The mechanism already exists for the voters to speak on our budget, and I really don't think this is appropriate for the type of government that we have.
Thanks. Mr. Corrett?
Another technical question, George Corrett, Bristol, sorry. It does indicate that increases to the amount raised by local taxes, the total budget is much more than that raised by local taxes. And I believe in a 20 or $21 million budget, about 11 or 12 million are raised locally. And I would just question, is it 2% limit of the 11 or 12,000, or is it 2% limit on the entire budget?
I don't know the question of that. I guess it's what? On the 11. The way it's written, it's the 11 million. I spoke earlier with saying I didn't think the language could be amended. Is that? That's correct. The language can't be amended. The percentage could be. Are you ready to close debate on that?
I just want to, Duncan Westfall, Alexandria. I just want to respond to Dr. Cascadden. He said that, we have here this meeting where people can voice their opinions, but in fact, this would, correct me if I'm wrong, only change the recommended budget, and people would still have the option to amend it up. The wording seems to say that the Budget Committee can't submit a recommended budget of more than a 2% increase, whereas it could still be amended higher.
Okay. Okay. Are you through talking about it? Okay. If you want to close the debate, I'll just ask you to vote yay, and if you don't, vote nay. All those in favor of closing the debate on Article 3 signify by saying yay. Yay. All those nay. All those opposed, nay. Okay. Article 3 will appear on your ballot on March 13th, exactly as it appears in your warrant here today. Article 4, to see if the voters of the Newfound Area School District will direct the school board to undertake a study of the feasibility and suitability of adding a junior high wing onto the high school, removing the Bristol Elementary School to the building currently used as the middle school, removing the SAU offices to the building currently used as the middle school, and establishing a K through 6 school at each of the 4 elementary schools, Bristol, Hebron, Bristol, Danbury, and New Hampton. The study shall be conducted by a committee composed of at least 1 member of the school board, 1 member of the school budget committee, 1 member of the Board of Selectmen from each town or their designee, and such other members as may be appointed by the committee. Within 180 days after the date of its formation, the committee shall report its findings to the voters of the district through a meeting called by the board for that specific purpose. And again, this is a petitioned article. And would somebody like to speak to that?
Mr. Moderator, I have a point of order. I don't know that we voted on Article 3 yet. We only voted to stop the discussion. Should we not vote that it appear properly?
Well, I've considered that because in the past, that's what I've done. In the past, that's what I've done. But the effect is that I don't think it probably makes a difference because it has to appear. So,
Well, you call it.
I call it. I think as long as you understand that if you're voting to close the debate that it's going to appear as it appears, then I think that's fine with me. Yep. There were Where's my supervisor? So I understand. Did she just leave again? Did she what? I'll be right back.
So I was like, that's a talk? I need to prepare when I'm speaking.
It'll be easier in meetings. Let's hope.
I don't want to add lib like some of the people
Yeah.
because it's the ad lib of Riley's speaking. Then we could get right to it.
No, they can't. That's this problem. And it's disgracing. That's why there's nobody left. All kinds of people.
And then everybody will clear out anyway. So Duncan, what are you doing?
Working with him. Employed.
I would not have recommended you. Yeah, my kid's bigger than me too. With a son. No, but you notice my town is fascinating. Said there's a teaching item for how they do it. They can do it alphabetically. They can draw out of the hat.
Vinny's researched it. I think by I thought I read the law. It's pretty straightforward.
He said that the state government
Okay, I understand. First of all, I should tell you that there was a cell phone that was discovered here, and I do have that cell phone. So if somebody is missing a cell phone, it's up here and you can claim it. This is what I went out there to talk to them about. They counted the ballots in the box, and this is the deal. There were noes 266, yeses 256. The reason I came out there was because they said, well, there were two other with a question mark. And so the question was, what was the question mark? Well, apparently not everybody was listening earlier. And people put in half ballots. And the two half ballots were both yeses, that they tore them apart and put in the half ballots. So the question is, what would be the effect of that? If, in fact, I were to count those ballots, then it would be 258 yeses. It still would have been defeated, okay? So that's, and those are the half ballots. Okay, we're going to, we were discussing Article 4, and I think I asked if somebody would speak to Article 4. Yes.
I will. Oops. Ruby Hill from Danbury. Can I address Article 4 and 5, because I wrote both of them?
Well, I think if you did them, I think we'll address Article 4, but I think what you could probably do in your explanation as to why you put them in
Okay.
together. Yeah.
All right. First, I want to say that I've talked to people in several towns in the district, and 5 of our towns have looked at leaving the district. And a lot of that has to do with our kids moving at an early age to the middle school. So both of these articles address looking at a structure that's different and keeps them in their own town longer. At the elementary level, there's more early intervention. The kids build confidence, stability, identity with their town. Busing, has an exhaustion factor depending on where they're coming from. And if they're at the elementary level longer, they have more time spent on skill development. I support a cooperative district because it's cost effective for one thing, but also we can provide increased opportunities as a combined district for art, music, sports, advanced placement opportunities, vocational opportunities that we couldn't do if we tried to do it alone. And I don't think any of the towns are in a position to do it alone, but with both of these, we also reduce one building, and that may give us opportunities for some of the things that have been discussed, such as bringing kids back who are outplaced now. So these are just studies to look at both of these options and see if either one of them or some combination finds favor with the voters.
Okay. Anybody else like to comment or have a question? If not, do you want to close the debate on Article 4? Okay. All those in favor of closing that debate, and if you do, Article 4 will appear on your warrant on March 13th, just as it appears here it'll appear on your ballot on March 13th, just as it appears in your warrant here today. You'll signify by saying aye, and if you're opposed to that, you'll signify by saying nay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And all those opposed? One no on the back. Article 4 will appear. Do you want to take care of Article 5 while we're on a roll? Article 5 is to see if the voters of the Newfound Area School District will direct the school board to undertake a study of the feasibility and suitability of changing the district configuration to be one of 4 local districts and 1 cooperative district, with each local district providing a K-8 education for their own students, and the cooperative district providing 9 through 12 education for all students from the 4 local districts, said districts being Bridgewater, Hebron, Bristol, Danbury, and New Hampton. The study shall be conducted by a committee composed of at least 1 member of the school board, 1 member of the school budget committee, 1 member of the board of selectmen from each town or their designee, and such other members as may be appointed by the committee. Within 180 days after the date of its formation, the committee shall report its findings to the voters of the district through a meeting called by the board for that specific purpose. I think the person who put it in has already spoken. Do you want to have any debate on that or discussion? If not,
Susan Duncan, Bristol. I just have a question of the school board and the staff. If either of these or both were adopted, would it be your intention to follow through and do what the voters asked?
Yep.
Excuse me, ma'am. It's not clear to me what precisely you're asking. If the school board in fact convenes task forces to do these exercises, are you asking, would we follow through on their recommendations?
Yeah, I'm just curious if you support looking at some alternatives of a way to provide education to our children and grandchildren. Would you follow through? There's nothing that requires you by statute to do this. It would be an articulation of the will of the people, but it's not law. We can't take you to court. Would you be willing? Are you interested in answering some of these questions? At looking at alternatives, are there things we could do better? I don't know how I feel on these. I just would like some kind of articulation of what the board thinks.
I can't speak for the whole board, but I think this board has taken a very positive step in the establishment of the data task force and saying we're willing to go out and get information, regardless of whether that helps a point of view or hurts a point of view, if we think that information will help us govern the district better. I can't specifically answer your question because I have to point out that as of this election, there'll be 3 candidates up for school board. And if those 3 people are different than the current members that are on the board, the complexion of the board may change one way or the other. So I think most school boards would take such an initiative seriously and consider it. Whether they would follow through is another question that we can't answer at this time.
Yes, sir.
Question, Mr. Moderator, Steve Spaver-Groton. I'm probably not the only one, but I notice, just want you to clarify, 3/5 majority is not required only if there's a monetary figure. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't think that that's on Article 5. I think that would be a majority vote only.
Okay, that's why I'm asking.
Yep.
So there's only 2 that are designated 3/5 majority.
That's right.
Because they're monetary issues, am I correct?
Not necessarily because they're monetary, they're because the legislature has determined that there needs to be a supermajority in order for them to pass. Okay, and any other discussion on Article 5? If none, if you vote yea, we'll close the debate and it'll appear on your ballot on March 13th, just as it appears here today in your warrant. If you vote nay, we'll have some further discussion, I guess. All those in favor of closing the debate signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. And Article 5 will appear on your ballot on March 13th, just as it appears here today on your warrant. We want to go back to Article, yes?
I think it's a point of order, but are we addressing the people in the other room at this point?
Yes, well, I did go in prior to reconvening the meeting here. I don't know if you can show them on your camera over there, but I did go in and indicating that we were about to start the meeting.
So nobody's recording their voice votes?
That's right, they are recording their votes. I'm sorry. Hello. I apologize for that. Thank you, Janet, for pointing that out. And I'll try to be more considerate. Okay. You want to go back to Article 7, or do you want to deal with Article 6 first? You want to deal with Article 6? Shall we rescind the provisions of RSA 4013, known as Senate Bill 2, as adopted by the Newfound Area School District, SAU 4, on March 21st, 1997, so that the official ballot will no longer be used for voting on all questions, but only for the election of officers and certain other questions for which the official ballot is required by state law. Okay, I don't really think we have a choice on that. It was put in by petition. That's the language which is required to be on the ballot, and I don't believe that it can be amended here today. And so is there anybody who would like to comment on it, though? You certainly, it's a deliberative session. You have the ability to do so.
Mr. Moderator, all I can say is, to start it off, was this is the first time I'm sure that the senior class is making a killing. I love it out there. I saw the line out there. It was terrific. And I'm sure they're thrilled that we're all here today. And why? Because of the SB2. And I say, let's keep it. Let's not go back to the way it used to be, when all you had was a bunch of interested people, meaning employees and everything, that used to show up, and we weren't allowed. And the reason it was brought up to an SB2 to be and passed in this district to get maximum participation, I think, and I support disposing of this article. A nay, when I go vote, I will.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of closing the debate signify by saying aye. Aye. How about the people in the gymnasium? Are you saying aye? Yes. Yay, yes. All those opposed, nay? Article 6 will appear on the ballot just as it appears here today. And we're back to Article 7. That now the Article 7 is back to the original article as it appears in your warrant. There have been 2 amendments. Both amendments at this point in time have been defeated. Is there any further discussion at this point in time? You ready to close the debate on that as well? Yep. Hold on. Hold on. We only meet once a year. People should be given a fair opportunity. And the thing is, I did restrict a lot of people to speaking to the amendment as opposed to the article itself. So, Marcia?
Marcia Elder, Alexandria, and I was one that sat down 3 times to an amendment, so I appreciate being able to speak. I think we need to consider some of the things like foreclosure. How many taxes are not being brought in from houses that the town now owns? How many of these towns are already owed taxes? And what is that figure from people who are either delinquent and can't pay their tax, or from those homes that we have gone into foreclosure? I have a home in Alexandria that was originally assessed for $311, was dropped to $236, but I'm still paying $6,000 a year in taxes. It's on the market for $199. I had an excited buyer, professionals from Dartmouth Hitchcock, who refused to buy my home because my taxes are too high.
Yes, sir. Hold on.
Zach Gilpatrick from Bridgewater. I just have a question on long-term effect of the budget. What's going to happen when the support staff can't afford to come to work? They're paying the school district to come to work because of their benefits. What happens to all the kids with the special needs IEPs that have to be met? They need the support staff. What happens to our budget then when, excuse me, if I recall correctly, we're already sending a handful of kids to Plymouth at approximately $40,000 a student. What's going to happen when the support staff isn't there to support them and these IEPs have to be met? I mean, is long-term, the $700,000 going to weigh out to sending more kids to Plymouth or somebody who can?
Okay. I think the question was, I guess the school board or the administration see that it may have some other, or cutting the budget has some other financial consequences, i.e. costs for special education? Sure. I guess the answer was they don't know, hard to predict. They don't know, they can't predict what's going to happen.
Sure.
Slim?
Mr. Moderator, I call the question.
I tell you what, I think that there ought to be some reasonable debate on. I don't think I should take that motion right now until people have had a fair opportunity to be heard, so.
Hi, my name is Karen Porazzo from New Hampton. I would like to make an amendment, and I've never done this before, so please correct me if I'm wrong. I would like to move to amend the budget. I'm not sure which line item it is, but by adding on to the operating budget to have the 5th grades remain where they are originally intended to be at their prospective elementary schools. Did I say that right?
Well, you said it right, but unfortunately, the only thing that you can really amend is you can express an intent as to what you want to do, but the only thing that you can really amend is the dollar amount.
Okay. And do we know what that dollar amount would be to keep the 5th grades where they are?
$258,000, I'm told by Superintendent Ross.
So if I added this onto this piece of paper, does that, and then I would like to express a few thoughts very quickly if I could.
Well, if you want to make an amendment, but I'm going to do the same thing with you. If you're not prepared at this point in time, you can come back up and make your amendment. But
well, it's all written except for the dollar amount.
Okay, we'll get it done quick.
Okay.
Is there a second to that?
I second it.
Okay.
Brandon Kernan from New Hampton.
Yep. Okay, you want to bring that up here? Third in the gym. Okay, there's an amendment. There's an amendment to increase the budget by $258,000. The intent being to address the issue of the fifth grades and to have them stay in their respective elementary schools. But the effect would be to increase the budget by $258,000. So we're going to talk to the amendment right now. Do you want to indicate why you made that amendment?
I would. My family has been the very grateful benefactors of having a very special needs daughter go through this school system. She's about to turn 21, and we have been very well supported by numerous, forgive me for being emotional, from the day she came into the school system. My fears were that she would not be treated well, and we've had anything but that. She's been loved and nurtured by every single teacher, aide, custodian, person that crosses her path. In the last 3 years, we've been fortunate enough to volunteer at Mrs. Downing's fifth grade class at the New Hampton Elementary School, where we work in the greenhouse and with the fifth grade. And the care and attention that the fifth graders get and the wonderful programs that Mrs. Downing provides to these children in the fifth grade. They donate their time to the garden club, to the senior center. We grow wonderful plants in the greenhouse. I invite you all to come and support that. It's a very self-supporting greenhouse. The skills these children learn by being in this environment are, they're safe, they're nurtured, they're taught responsibility, they are responsible for interacting with adults, for using their math skills to add up their proceeds. It's one of the most wonderful educations I think a kid could get, and I think we all struggle with paying our taxes. The thing I'm constantly grateful for and aware of is that we don't pay any other taxes. We don't have a sales tax. We don't have an income tax. And these funds have to come from someplace, and I'm very supportive, and I realize that the special needs children take a lot of your tax dollars. And we do really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.